Welcome to Absolutely Marvel and DC. Today we're going to talk about Invincible because it doesn't say only Marvel and DC, we're absolutely Marvel and DC. Amazon Prime released the first 3 episodes of Invincible at 45 minutes long. So last weekend, I had to watch a 4-hour Zack Snyder movie, and this weekend I'm watching a 3-hour Invincible movie.
And there's no ending. It's just going to keep going.
I will say, of all the things to complain about, it's like, I have
gotta
too much.
watch.
And I'm also behind on Superman and Flash because of the move. So, like, this weekend's just going to be me catching up on those.
Yeah. No, I literally...
And Dylan informed me I got to watch Supergirl, so I got to watch that now.
Well, it's ending. It's almost over, so yeah. Yeah, but yeah, that's right. That's right. Invincible. 3 episodes, 45 minutes apiece. And we've read most of the series.
Yeah, you've read all the series. I've read this storyline and like a lot of the back end stuff. Yeah. So you're the super Invincible fan. My brother's a super Invincible fan, and I'm an Invincible fan. I'm a fan of the ideas, the concepts, what he does with it.
Dig it.
But I think we're gonna be the odd man out here, Sal, because 100%, I thought it was okay.
Yeah, I also thought it was okay.
Everyone's freaking the hell out about this show, and I'm just the pacing is so slow.
The biggest criticism of the show has to be that the pacing is all over the place, and just it's a slog. Especially if you want to watch all 3 in a row. For me, it was just very slow and very like awkwardly paced, and I think that had a lot to do with the adaptation process because it's not a one-to-one. It is as much of a one-to-one as you can get, but because Kirkman has a lot of experience with adapting The Walking Dead, which of course, if you've read up to issue 60, you know it does not happen the same way. Like, it goes off. And I think that's like clever and smart and good because it keeps everyone guessing. It gives the new readers or the new viewers something exciting, and it gives the old readers something exciting because they're like, oh, I didn't know that was going to happen, or it didn't happen the same way I read it, so I'm getting a new experience.
Right.
But with Invincible, you know, it's a comic book into a cartoon. I think a lot of the heavy compliments that people are paying this book, this show, is because it is like the book. I think that, for the most part, people are enjoying this because it is practically the comic book come to life.
Well, and I agree with that, but it's so slowly paced. I even hit my brother this morning because I read Invincible when it dropped originally. Yeah. So we're talking years ago, and I'm like, I remember in Invincible, the way the plot paced out was like it was like the first 12 issues, and by the end of the 12, like there was no giant mystery about what the dad is doing.
Nope.
It was, he set up becoming a superhero, failed a bunch of times, the Guardians of the Globe died, we find out what's going on with the dad, which I don't want to reveal here in case you are not a reader. I don't want to give the plot of the dad out here.
Yeah.
Because it also might change. So at that point, then we'll talk about the adaptation and how we like or dislike the change.
That's true.
But I don't remember them pacing it out like this big mystery. I don't even remember the demon guy existing in the comic. And he's like, no, he was there, and he was useless.
He was there. He was a footnote. One of my issues with this is the change. One of the big changes, which is when Mark gets his powers, it's a great moment because they do it just like it was in the show, where he throws the garbage can or the garbage bag in the air. And he's like, finally, or about time. He fails only in as much as he's not very good at it right away. But there is no growing. There's no uncertainty. In fact, Mark is like thrilled and great at it. And part of the reason
I thought right off the bat he was really good at it. Like,
or at the very least, he's not inept at it. He's not afraid. He's not a coward. He's not like running away from problems or fights. He's not. His dad doesn't punch him, and he's like surprised and upset, and then he tries to take it out on the bully. Like, there's no moment like that. There's nothing like that. And I understand that they're doing it to ratchet up the drama and make it like a show, because this is the most expensive. This would be the most expensive CW show of all time, right? Because it's like because it's about kids in high school. It's about teen angst and drama, and that's what the show is. They're trying to ratchet up the family drama and the kid drama mixed with the superhero stuff. And
I don't remember the mom being that big of a deal in the comic either.
The mom was much more subtle and a lot less active. For her, she's like a war widow, but her husband's still alive. She's she's just so shut off from all the things that he does because you really shouldn't be married to a superhero because they're because their lives are insane, and she doesn't know when he's going to come home, and so she has these moments of levity and brightness, but she's kind of shut down on the inside. When he disappears in the alien dimension in the comic book, Invincible is like, Dad's gone, and he's really surprised and shook up, and she's like, oh, what do you want for dinner? And that's not the response you should have, but that's her response because that's how broken and quiet she is. And it's I really like that, not because I want to see a weak female character, but more because that was so telling and it was so jarring. Because everyone else is having a grand old time, because everyone else in the book is practically a superhero or a best friend of a superhero. So no one experiences the negatives of it except for his mom. And that's really cool. But I will say, positive, Sandra Oh does a really nice job with this character, and it's practically it's a completely different character, but still spiritually the same character.
Speaking of Sandra Oh, it's funny because the voice cast they got a pretty impressive voice cast for this whole thing.
They did.
And they're all on point.
Yeah.
Contrasting some of the very budget-limited animation choices that they've made. One that I noticed right at the bat was, if you pay attention to when he's flying, it's a still image of him flying, and they just zoom in and out and move it.
Oh my God. It
reminds me of a kid being like, zoom, zoom.
Yes. There's a moment in when he's having lunch in the cafeteria. Take a look at the background characters and how it was so weird that I couldn't help. I wasn't nitpicking the show. I wasn't trying to find every wrong thing. It was just things that just blared out at me. I'm like, oh my God.
The flying got shot what? And then at one point, I know the image they used. The only other thing that caught my attention, it probably didn't catch too many people's attention because you don't do editing, but there was a smoke effect that drifted over one of the battlefields, and I'm like, that's just an After Effects thing.
I know that smoke. Yeah. Also, there's this clever device they try to do, where they try to work in the name Invincible by cutting to the title card.
I actually like that.
I think it's super jarring because it's really. I don't think it works. I think I get the idea they were going for, and it happens in comics all the time. That convention and that writing trope. In this, I don't think it works. And maybe because there's no sound or music when they cut to the title, it's just good. It just drops, and you're like,
that's true.
Okay.
I wish there was at least an orchestra rise or something
da-dun! But a little weird. You're like, I think at the end of the day, yes, the deviations from the source material are welcome, and they should be expected because they're not just going to do the comic book on screen. I mean, they could, and it would be fine, but it's not a show then, right? It's just each issue of the comic book animated, and that's not enough.
Which is actually one of the problems that I have a lot of times when they adapt a manga to an anime. A lot of times they'll do panel by panel, and I'm like, I already know the story.
Right, but even then, when they need to stretch out the manga. When the manga's only a couple of volumes, and they're like, we need to get 108 episodes out of this, and you get all these random subplots or romance twists, and you're like, no, and oh yeah, you can skip this season, and it's like, this whole season?
The whole season's just Goku doing nothing?
Right, skip the season? That's 26 episodes. But with Invincible, but yeah, ultimately, at the end of the day, for me, my only criticisms are the animation, that you can see the budget. You can see it on screen. Yeah. And
it doesn't have the Boys budget, that's for sure.
Oh, no. The Boys is one of those adaptations where I'm like, Amazon nailed it.
Yeah.
Just nailed it. Because I don't like the comic book, and I love the show.
Yeah, I tried getting back into the comic, and that show came out, and I was like, But in this one, no, you ever tried to read that comic? No.
Yeah.
But with Invincible, I almost want to say read the comic. It's better. It is. Like, I do want to say, like, I don't want to dismiss Invincible. I think it's incredible that this got made. I think it's incredible that the voice cast is incredible.
Yep.
Seeing the story adapted to TV is incredible.
Yep.
But I don't know if it's because I wanted more from this. I for some reason feel like it would have been better if we got, instead of 3 45-minute episodes, we had 6 22-minute episodes that just got to the point every single episode.
Right.
I get it. I get what they're doing. They also, because they want to build the world up. They definitely want to build the world up. Like at the end of the first episode, when they got to the Guardians of the Globe.
Oh yeah.
Instead of just showing the massacre, we got to see a little bit of each of their lives.
Oh yeah. No,
which I felt was also very unneeded when you literally were ripping their heads off 5 minutes later.
Well, and that I don't care about what a Batman analog's life is like. I don't care about what problems a Russian Flash has. Like, I get it. Like, the reason why the Guardians of the Globe are in Invincible is to die.
Yeah.
That's why they're there. And they are one-to-one analogs to the Justice League because it's shorthand. It is a joke. It is a convention. It's a trope, and it's there so that you know. Oh, that's the Green Lantern. Ah, that's the Martian Manhunter. Ah, that's their Superman, I guess. And he's weird, but I guess that's their Superman.
Yeah,
like, we get it. Like, there's only one Guardian that makes it, and it's in his name. The rest of them, you know, and he's the only one that's not Superman because Omni-Man is Superman. So in terms of what character represents what you know, archetype exists out in the world. So but like the Green Lantern character, the Martian Manhunter character, the Batman character, like they're all dead and they die for a reason. Like they die so that we can show how savage and crazy their massacre is and why and for what reason. And it's supposed to make you go like, what? It's supposed to be a gut punch for you as a reader. And showing it, depicting it, and isolating their characters, I was like, like why? Like why bother? You know, it's like the security guard. I was like,
I'm hoping he goes somewhere. We keep getting these scenes of the security guard.
I don't care at all. I'm done. But like when the security guard,
he's got this thing with his son. Yeah, and then the London thing is like, you called me dad, and I'm like, is there going to be a part 3 to this?
Right. Honestly, that moment, I laughed. I was like, all right, you got me. Because I thought they were setting it up where the 2 security guards are talking, and I'm like, this guy's like, yeah, I'm 2 weeks from retirement. I'm like,
I thought that was going to happen. I thought it was the whole point of that opening.
Yeah, it's just to like, watch the security guard get killed for laughs. And then it's like, no, he doesn't get killed. And then they go to London, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, what? Watch them. Now they're going to die here? And it's like, no. And I'm like, okay. I was really expecting to go to Mount Rushmore. But no, but there are moments like that where I'm like, why did you do that? Like, what is this?
Yeah. Is it building to something? Are you trying to world build a generic dad trying to get his stepson to like him? Like,
right?
What are you world building?
You don't need to pad runtime. There's enough Invincible to go around. Like, there's enough in the comic book. Because you know what we're missing from this?
You know what this is? Zack Snyder made a 45-minute cut of it. Oh,
good.
That's where that came from.
There we go. So we'll just wait for the 20-hour Invincible cut. Is that like I don't. They say that Mark reads comics a couple of times in this show. I don't feel it. Do you get that impression? Like, I don't really get it. Like,
he seems to really like the dog one, Seance Dog.
Yeah, by the way, they changed. It was Science Dog in the comic book. It's Seance Dog in the show. He's Doctor Strange, but a dog? What? Why make that change? Not only that, but for me, the reason why I'm even harping on it is because I think Mark is good at being a superhero and excited about it and like more morally centered than his father because he reads comic books.
Right.
Like, it's a central core of his character that he reads comics and he's inspired by and influenced by those. In this, it's like he reads them. Like, it's a character trait, but it doesn't inform him. What really informs Invincible and his growth is his relationship with his father and his ability to get better and overcome his own personal insecurities. And I'm like, okay, but that's like a real superhero story. Like, Invincible is both meta and real. Like, Mark is good at being a superhero almost overnight because he's read comic books, he knows what to do, and his powers are he can't freaking die and he can fly. that means he can literally do anything. So
Yeah.
he can throw himself at any problem. And it's like, that's part of the appeal. And in this, it's like, he is just so insecure, and he constantly is like, what about this? What about that? I'm like, dude, what? That ain't Mark. I don't know. It seems a little, it was very...
Do you feel that a lot of the padding and the changes are not only to try and cater to that CW audience, but also because they want a world build for the potential of an Invincible universe?
Oh my God, I hope not.
Robert Kirkman, for the longest time, it's kind of obviously always wanted to expand upon it by trying to do spin-offs and other books, and they just never succeeded. And do you think that this is his attempt at that finally?
It would be a brilliant move by Amazon, right? Because Amazon has the broadcasting rights and the production rights to this Invincible show. Amazon is a streaming service, and HBO and Disney have their own comic book universe on their streaming service, and they can spin off and do a million different things with those. This could be Amazon's universe, their own comic book universe. We've seen them do The Tick and stuff. That's very
they're already spinning off The Boys, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they are.
Yeah.
So it's
So they're maybe it was okay, we're going to turn this into a show, but we want it to be more like the teen drama kind of thing, but with blood, guts, and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But we want it to be able to spin off.
Right.
Almost like what happened with The Boys, and they were like, okay, The Boys did super well. We want to make this into a spin-off show.
Right.
Plan that, put the seeds for that early on.
Yeah.
Introduce characters all over the place. Introduce backstories and other characters and...
Yeah. I mean, we could get a prequel series about the Guardians, and it's like, but I don't want that because they're just Justice League ripoffs. I don't want to watch a fake Justice League show. Right?
You're not wrong. Yeah.
They exist to die.
But even moments like the Martian Manhunter character stretching out, that's the farthest you've gone, and we introduced to the kid that works with him.
What the hell's that? Why do I care about this? He's supposed to die.
The woman running out to talk to War Woman. Yeah. But our market share is so much higher. What does any of this matter? War Woman's gonna die.
We got, and listen, there are moments in the Invincible comic when they do show you a snapshot of their lives. And we do see, I think War Woman's a lesbian, and her parents or family want to bring her back to where she came from, and she's like, no, I live here now. But we get those as snapshots that are kind of teardowns or send-ups of the tropes you see in comic book superhero stuff all the time. I don't want to watch a show about War Woman. I don't care about her. I'm watching Invincible for Invincible. And it's if you build your Invincible cartoon to be an IP farm for spin-offs, I think you're putting the cart before the horse. Honestly, you know what I mean? I feel like it's a little overzealous because it's we don't even know, because you released 3 45-minute episodes for this show for a comic book that by and large your audience didn't read. So we don't even know if it's going to be a success. Yeah. We know that comic book fans like it because they love it, and
that's the reason we like it. But it's going to be interesting to see how successful this is beyond that.
Right.
Especially with the low budget flying.
Oh my God. I mean, and that being said, there's some good stuff with the animation. I was actually surprised based on, and maybe it could be he's flying. He's going one direction. What else? He's not going to change he's not going to move.
Right.
But with respect to the gore and the violence, that's well animated. And maybe that's where they put their money in there.
They just moved the budget over there. Flying, we can make it look.
Flying, that's
I will say the action
Flash
sequence,
animation.
When Omni-Man's destroying the Guardians of the Globe, was amazing. I loved that, and the fight against all the aliens, that was really well done and put together. The weird fisheye lens of seeing Mark fly around the aliens, that was
cool too. Yeah, there's some good stuff. I like a lot of what they do, but it's the stuff that I like is the stuff that I read. I like Cecil. I like the Tailor. I like Omni-Man's relationship with his wife, and I like that the improvement for me. While I did go on and on about how his wife is interesting because she's so insulated in the comic book. Sandra Oh gives that character life, and she's more interesting. She's certainly more interesting, and I'm excited to see what this version of this character does when the turn happens.
Yeah, so be interesting. So overall, though, I will say I did enjoy it. I'm going to be watching the next couple of episodes to see where it goes. I'll probably be finishing the season without any major complaints.
No question.
A lot of what we've discussed here is mostly nitpicks, I will say. But
I'd say definitely.
It's very nitpicky, but hey, you wanted to see our opinions on it. I liked it. I'm going to watch it. Definitely not my top pick, though. I'll tell you that.
No, overall, out of all the things we watched, I was more interested and excited about the Snyder Cut and Falcon Winter Soldier and even The Boys.
Yeah.
I think Invincible is, they did there's some, the casting across the board is excellent. The pacing's a little weird. We talked about that a little bit, but I will say, like, it's fine. And if you'd never read Invincible, I bet people love this. Like,
oh yeah.
And I think it's a great way. It's a great gateway into the comic book, because the comic book's going to keep you guessing, and it's going to blow your mind, especially because it's so different in many respects, and yet so thematically the same.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't want to misconstrue anybody's opinion about, like, I did like it. I did like the show. But
yeah, I feel like we spent 20 minutes here just crapping on it, but overall we did. I'd like to say the only reason we are nitpicking is because we are fans of the property. Yeah. So it was kind of weird to see, like you said, everyone praising it.
And that's the thing.
I'm just like, did you guys see the same stuff I did?
Right. And that's really, I think, why we focused on it so much, because I'm like, I didn't see anyone criticize the show at all. And I'm not saying I need to be the one to do it, I'm just saying, like, but it was not without its flaws, and there are more than one in the show. Now, the other thing is, this show's been in development for, like, forever. So it could be that, maybe they had a very limited budget just to develop these shows.
I remember, like, 5 years ago, one of the cons we went to, I went to the Skybound party, and they were celebrating how Invincible was picked up and coming out next year. And that was in 2015.
Yeah, that was a while ago. So it could be that, like, maybe they've changed animation teams. Maybe who knows? I mean, I'm just saying, like, the show we got, the episodes are a little long, and the pacing's a little weird. And for me, the changes that they've made from the comic book to this, are interesting, but it seems pretty one-to-one.
Last nitpick. They don't know what an end credit scene is. You don't come up and start your credits with 3 credits and then do, like, another 10 minutes of the show.
10 minutes? I'm like, that's just the show. That was weird.
And also, with the end credits of the first episode being the Guardians of the Globe death, it was like,
that's really important.
That's important too. Like,
can you imagine?
I picked up the remote to go to the next episode.
Me too.
And it started going again. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, no, thankfully. Can you imagine you set up the next episode and you're like, when did this happen?
Oh, we're investigating the deaths. So, like, the deaths? What?
Deaths? Who died?
Oh, great. They're doing it off screen. That would have been a funny part of it. Sal, I can't believe they did the Guardians of the Globe deaths off screen.
I mean, they did in the comic book. So, like, yeah. Like, that makes sense to me, but showing every agonizing moment of the fight and the way they changed the fight, I was like, oh, like what they did with Omni-Man and stuff was very different. But yeah, overall, I think hopefully it's a great ambassador to comics. I hope that it sells more Image, Skybound, and overall comic books in general. Like,
I agree.
For me, and it's Amazon who owns Comicsology, and I kind of don't see any, like, links. Like, I have a Fire Stick. That's how I watched it. I couldn't click anything to go to Comicsology and read Invincible. Hey, Amazon, you may want to get on that. You own a comic book e-reader. The comic book
I was
e-reader.
like, there's no other one to do.
Like, I could use, like, DC Infinite or Marvel Limited. But, like, if I want to read comics month to month, week to week, Comicsology.
Yeah.
You own it.
All right, guys, thanks so much for watching.
Thank
you for watching Absolutely Marvel at DC. I'm Benny. That's Sal. We'll be back next week with another episode of Invincible, along with Falcon Winter Soldier, Flash, Black Lightning, I think we're working on, Supergirl, Superman. We're working on them all. We're talking about them all. Theories, fun stuff, having a great time. We'll see you next time right here